Hi guys, one of the members of the headbanger wings of the Conservative Party, Danny Kruger, spoke to Sophie Ridge of Sky News as the vote was taking place in Parliament on the Rwanda bill. What the crazies in the Tory party want is someone else to blame for their failures to deport people to Rwanda. If it isn't the lefty lawyers, it's Keir Starmer. If it isn't Starmer, it's Labour in the House of Lords, who aren't the largest party. And if it isn't them, well, it's the European Convention on Human Rights. When the right wing of the Conservative Party talk about leaving the ECHR to stop immigration, it's about leaving to remove protections for British people. Brexit was the first step. Leaving the Council of Europe and the protections of the ECHR are the final one.
I think there is a bigger story here, which is about our membership of the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg, which has jurisdiction through the European Convention, which we all support the principles of, but I'm afraid to say we've seen that the court doesn't respect the UK Parliament as the sovereign power in our country, and fundamentally I think that's incompatible with our democracy. So I'm hopeful that the Rwanda policy will work. If it doesn't, that makes it really obvious we need to leave the European Court, which might well be the battleground for the next election. So I think there's a big story here about who rules in Britain. But let's see. I'm backing the government and I hope we get this policy to work.
I mean, it feels like Rishi Sunak is saying that he is prepared to potentially leave the ECHR. But at the same time, do you think he's just bluffing? Do you believe him?
Well, I think he's saying that it's not necessary to leave the convention, that we can disregard the court, which is true. I mean, it's a recent sort of principle of British policy that these interim injunctions from Strasbourg should apply. We can disregard those. I think we should leave, and I hope the Prime Minister would accept that if it's a question of a conflict between our democracy, the sovereignty of Parliament, and our membership of the European Court and the Convention, then of course our Parliament should come first. He is hopeful, as many colleagues are, possibly a majority still in my party in Parliament, still think we can somehow reconcile our sovereignty with membership of the Convention. This Rwanda policy is a very good test for let's see what happens.
Oh my goodness, this is so frustrating. So he wants to turn this into a political issue, into an electoral issue. So the Conservatives will be the party that wants to leave the European Convention on Human Rights, while Labour are the party who wants to remain. Just like Brexit once again, it seems. He talked twice. He mentioned Strasbourg twice in this interview. Of course, this is about reinforcing the point that he wants people to believe that it's a foreign court. It's not an international court. He never mentioned it as an international court. He mentioned Strasbourg twice in order to convince people it's a foreign court interfering with British sovereignty. And then he mentioned who rules in Britain. Is it Parliament or some foreign court? I'm paraphrasing, of course, here. Now, there are two areas that the ball has really been dropped here when it comes to the media and the media pushing back on these headbangers and these crazy people. Is first of all, this is not about immigration. This is about taking away rights and protections for British people. This is the end goal here of Brexit. The first step of Brexit, I keep saying, is about stripping away protections for the environment, workers, and standards. And leaving the European Convention on Human Rights, once again, you don't leave the Convention, you leave the Council of Europe and join Belarus, is that you remove the protections for ordinary people. That's what that's about. It's about Brexit standards and ECHR rights. But there's also another area that, of course, the media drops the ball on, and when it comes to peace in Northern Ireland, the Good Friday Agreement. A cornerstone of the Good Friday Agreement is the Human Rights Act, which was implemented as a direct result of the European Convention on Human Rights. So you leave the Council of Europe, you strip away these protections for British people, and you undermine peace in Northern Ireland. To achieve what? Well, on the surface, it means sending a few people to Rwanda. But of course, it's part of the goal of the right wing of the Conservative Party to take away protections from British people and also diverge from EU standards so that people can make lots of money. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.